welcome back to Stream Media West 2017. I'm Tim Siglin, contributing editor with Streaming Media Magazine and media strategy principal at RealSolver Incorporated. And today I've got with me John Petrocelli. John, your company is Bulldog Media? Is
Bulldog Digital Media.
Bulldog Digital Media. And you said that you've been around for about, what, 5 years?
We have, correct.
And prior to that, you were in what parts of the industry?
I've had a career involved in the delivery aspect of streaming, and then in the security components, commerce, DRM, et cetera, and the better part of the last 10 plus years in live.
Okay, got it. And for you, live has always been streaming and online and OTT, or some broadcast as well?
Primarily online. Okay. We've been really focused on the major kind of premium content experience. Concerts, festivals, product launches, premieres.
And is that where Bulldog Digital Media plays at this point?
Yeah, we function as a live streaming agency and strategy company.
Okay, strategy company.
So we're involved in the execution. We get hired by brands, Coca-Cola, Nestle, Snickers, Taco Bell. Okay. We also work with the content community. So we represent music festivals or live experiences.
Oh, nice.
And connect them into Madison Ave, especially with now the big shift in focus on live video.
So I live in Tennessee, and I lived in Middle Tennessee, worked at an Air Force base, and there's this thing called Bonnaroo that started up, and it absolutely horrible the first year. They lost a bunch of money, so they stopped it the second year, rejiggered it, brought it back the third year, and by the time I moved from there, of course, it had become a thing.
Sure has.
Yeah, and it's just sort of fascinating because it was a local farmer's field, so it was sort of Woodstock of the South, so to speak.
And today it's an iconic music experience.
It really is.
I've had the pleasure of streaming Bonnaroo a few times, and it's transformative, amazing. What happens on that rural farm that's broadcast out to the world is really incredible.
So out of curiosity, you're going to talk about the future of live streaming, and I did a panel today on VR video and 360 video. Will we get to the point that concerts and that kind of thing, music festivals are streamed in sort of an immersive environment?
I think for sure. I think live streaming has now got a lot of heat and a lot of light on it. And in parallel, the world is moving to what we think is an experience economy.
Sure.
Today's individual would love to be at an experience and have a shared experience versus buy a house or a watch or a car. And that's rampant in the millennial sector. And you're seeing, I think Live Nation reported yesterday, massive growth. People are really invested in going to these experiences. The live piece comes in where if you can't physically be there, you can now have this collaborative, participatory experience. And the next stage, clearly, VR, AR, especially for music.
And one of the things we were talking about in that panel is how do you balance the fact that immersive video today is inherently a single person immersive, and every single person who experiences it experiences it the same way through the same lens, but they're not experiencing it collaboratively. And I understand VR can sort of play a part in that, but how do we go from everybody who's watching this music festival immersively is essentially getting the same row on, the same seat on the third row, looking at the stage from the left? How do we deal with allowing people to sort of have the freedom to move around, quote unquote, even if they can't be there?
I think it's a good question, right? And I think over time, hopefully innovation will solve a lot of those challenges. If you can attend an experience and you live in Tokyo and it's a beautiful show in Miami, you could A, stream it 2D, but B, eventually attend almost and physically be on the stage or walk or see what the drummers do.
Right. Well, that's actually a great point, and maybe you pay a premium for that because you're able to get access to things that you wouldn't be if you physically were there.
Absolutely. I think the media and the content community is looking at that technology through that lens and thinking, boy, here comes an opportunity. Obviously, the event world's going to, I think, go to a media level layer and then a level of innovation where there'll be a commerce, to your point, a Spotify model. There'll be free content brought to you by T-Mobile and Pepsi. But immersive content that you would subscribe to.
Right. And it's interesting. I hadn't thought about putting that on the stage so you're suddenly right in the middle of the band, and hopefully the audio also is, surrounding.
Yeah, that's an important part of it for sure. Yeah.
So what else in the future of live streaming, when you get ready to do your panel in a few minutes here, what other topics are you going to touch on?
So I'm largely focused on what's happening on Madison Ave in the advertising community. So we came into this year with 2 big problems, and now a third has been added.
Okay.
Most significantly is cord cutting. That's a real issue now.
Sure.
So brands are concerned, how do I authentically reach a consumer who's not consuming media in a traditional manner?
Okay.
Secondly, we've got a propagation of ad blockers. I think
Right.
about 615 million devices
Right.
have ad blocking
Yep.
technology on them. So historic forms of advertising aren't even making it to the consumer. And now we're seeing the brand safety issue. Brands
Okay.
don't want to advertise next to content that's
Yeah.
dubious,
Absolutely.
fake news, etc. To us, the tonic there is premium live video powered by a brand.
Okay. So almost like the old sponsored live television in the early days?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Lawrence Welk effect, where in the middle of it, somebody stops and says, Geritol is what you need.
Right. Or we've looked at ways like the branded user experience. My
Okay.
team has pioneered in the ability to create a multiple channel viewing experience,
Okay.
multi-angle video
Okay, got it.
player. So that's kind of part of the user experience. In my career for live video, I've done a lot of experiences on YouTube.
Okay.
You've seen the comment section,
Right.
off topic, not related to the video.
Right.
So we'll aggregate the conversation, but more importantly, curate it.
Okay.
So rather than pulling away, people are more invested in the conversation.
Interesting.
Social stream related to the video, and then we'll turn on things like a polling unit or a trivia widget, a photo wall, a schedule gadget. Now you've really transformed that viewer into a participant.
So essentially you're solving the problem of ad blockers by getting rid of ads, it sounds like. I mean, by
Almost in a way.
integrating it in like we've done product placement for years in the motion picture industry and on some TV shows.
I would agree, kind of like the early days of the soap opera industry meets today's live. The advertising in the TV world is now sports, award shows, American Idol, that live kind of collaborative tune-in. And online, it's a very even more compelling
Yeah, it really
engagement.
is. Okay. And then the essence there, as you're trying to solve all 3 of those problems, is live content brought to you by a brand that is inexpensive or free, or because it's so premium, people will pay a premium price. I mean, what are the pricing models that you kind of work
Well,
around that?
the brands the consumer, it's free, so it's brought to you by.
Okay, so it'll always be free from that standpoint, or almost always.
Right, so it becomes a media buy for the brands.
Got it.
Just
Okay.
like they're buying commercial time on
Sure,
traditional TV.
sure.
Our argument is, the fan you want to reach who's someone who's 26, they're not really watching Law & Order on Thursday night on NBC
Right.
and sitting through the State Farm ad.
Yeah, right.
Probably not consuming media in a traditional way,
Right.
and if they are, they're probably DVRing it and going through the ad.
Yeah.
Here's a far more authentic way to engage.
Okay.
And the data that comes out of the experience, where people are, how long they're watching, who's on iOS,
Right.
who's on Android, what are they talking about in the.
And that brings me to the last question on that, which was the first one you mentioned, which is essentially the fragmentation problem. People aren't watching it all at the same time per se, or all on the same platform. Even sports, which sort of seems to be the last bastion of live must-see TV, besides say breaking news, that's fragmented out across platforms. How do you help the companies understand which platforms to go to versus which platforms to stay away from? Getting to the point of your third piece, which is on some platforms it may get juxtaposed up against content that you don't want.
It's a great point. We'll guide the brand, the sponsor, the media, the platform through that equation. So I've worked with Coke for years. Historically, they've said they want the consumer to come to Coca-Cola TV or Coca-Cola.fm.
Sure.
We've had about a 5-year run with them on powering a major music festival in Mexico City. This past year, they decided let's go a little wider and keep our branded hub experience, but extend to YouTube, Facebook, and to Twitter.
Okay.
And then a couple weeks ago, we announced a partnership with Amp Live. So we want to syndicate that video out for the brand.
Right.
They say, I want 1 million, 4 million, 8 million views.
Sure.
I want them to be in a certain region of the world. I
Okay.
want the audience to index at 25 to 59.
Okay.
We actually get that granular and then retarget as well. So it's a combination of all those things: the dedicated hub, syndication, social platforms. Some people want to have their live video purely on YouTube. Now Facebook is a pretty hot option as well.
And do the advertisers trust the numbers when you come back and say we got 4 million views of this particular thing? Because we've all
question.
had that question throughout the years of overinflation.
Correct. So when we stand up a microsite hub for the brands,
Okay.
we're giving them real, authentic data.
Okay.
Amp Live, we measure the viewership on at least a 3-second view, so it's not a drive-by where
Okay.
you're actually tuning into the video.
Right.
I can't comment. I don't really know what the Facebooks and the Twitter, how they report. But I imagine now there's a lot of brand investment happening on those platforms.
Sure.
The numbers have to be true and real.
And definitely there's more pressure on them to make sure that they're accurate numbers.
Without
and the like.
question,
So,
yeah.
All right, John, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.